So we're with Chris Murphy on the screen here, and we're wondering how MK Ultra, under the Department of Homeland Security, which he is the Senate subcommittee chair of, is he implanting the thoughts in people, making them lonely?
Nice. So let's bust right into it. You've written and spoken at length about the politics of loneliness and suggest that there are levers the government can pull to combat loneliness. Let's start with that. How have we let loneliness become an epidemic, and what do you think are the policy solutions?
Listen, we've always had pretty high levels of loneliness in this country. We're all familiar with this emotion. There's nothing that public policy can do to erase from people's lives the feeling of being alone. But what we have seen is a dramatic
So, are you in charge of loneliness?
rise in social isolation of late, which is leading to higher rates of loneliness. I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll show even bigger rates of loneliness. And that social isolation.
Well, shouldn't you be focusing on the war you're starting? I mean, honestly, if Burisma bribes and, you know, are these things going to take center stage? The Iran deal you support, the Houthi treatment, where you took them off the terrorist watch list? I mean, is that why people are lonely? Because they're afraid of the Houthi?
Comes in all sorts of different forms. People have less friends than they used to. They spend less time with friends. They spend more time on their screens. People are working more at home, not
Are the Israelis your friends? Or is it Hamas? Or is it the Muslim Brotherhood that you keep meeting with?
in person. And I just think at our foundation, we are social beings. I think we exist to interact with others.
Is that why you're making promises to Duwadi in Connecticut? Or why you're endorsed by the Communist Party?
All the happiness data I see tells us that we are happiest when we are spending time with family and friends. And I think that
Are the communists your friends? I know the Houthis are your friends. You're paying them. I know the Egyptians are your friends. I mean, for example, you're withholding 300 million to Egypt because they have 60,000 political prisoners they won't release. Are those Christians they won't release?
this is a really dangerous moment for the human race, but for
Oh, it certainly is, because you're withholding funds to Egypt while you're keeping our own J6 patriots in the gulag. Are they lonely in the gulag?
sort of Americans specifically. And I get it that there are sort of limited things that government can do here. And I know that a lot of people look at my work on loneliness and think that there's kind of an illegitimacy to government trying to help you make friends.
Are you saying you agree that it's illegitimate, your intention? Or what are you saying about January 6th?
But we got here in part because of choices government made and choices we didn't make. And
Well, was J6 a mistake? I think J6 was a huge mistake. And I think you hiding here, not talking about it, when you're Department of Homeland Security head, you're letting in illegals because you're lonely?
areas of neglect. And so I just
Oh,
think we have to have an honest conversation about
you mean you want drug dealers in MS-13 to come into the country? Is that what you're talking about? Please clarify.
how lonely people are feeling and the ways in which different government decisions can give more people a chance to connect with peers and friends and family more, which I just think will make the whole country happier and probably also have the byproduct of safeguarding our democracy a bit.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if MS-13 has to kill an innocent person to become a member, uh, and Hamas is using human shields that are Palestinians, is that making the Palestinians lonely? Are you just stirring this pot?
So, on the ground level, does that mean national service, investments in third spaces, parks? What types of investments or programs can DC or the federal government make that helps facilitate or reconnect people?
I think it's a pretty long list.
You mean spending money on Ukraine while spending money on Israel while you support Hamas? Is that what you're talking about?
First, we, have amongst many Americans, low and middle income Americans, a crisis of free time. So one of the most important things we can do is to just make sure that a 40-hour work week provides you with enough money to feed your.
Hold on a second. Will you be drafting 20 to 26-year-old males in your upcoming war? Is that making them be more withdrawn?
Your family, so that if you choose on the evenings and on the weekends, you can engage in leisure activities, which will often involve being part of the community. So right now,
I guess that's why he walked across Connecticut buying hot dogs, hot dogs from all the local vendors, because he is a Nancy Pelosi supporter. I guess that's what's going on here, but I want to thank you for your time here. Do you have any final
you need
comments?
to work today 70 hours to earn the same amount of benefits for your family as 40 hours would have 40 years ago. And so that's a crisis in and of itself. But
well, I don't know if you have such a crisis if you were worth $300,000 11 years ago, and now you're worth $480 million. How much did you take from Burisma?
all that time working means less time to engage in leisure activity, which often is socialization. Second, I do think public investment in third spaces matter. The public pools were shut down in Hartford, Connecticut this summer because there was a funding crisis in my city and they couldn't find or pay lifeguards. And so there was no place for families to go that couldn't
You're
pay
kidding.
to belong to a private pool. And Republicans, conservatives got in a bit of a kerfuffle about that. Why should government pay for pools? But, we have a long history, whether it be, rec sports leagues or public parks or public pools, of the government providing places for people to go.
You mean spending money on illegals to attract them to Connecticut? Or I don't completely understand where you're going with this, and maybe we should just call it a wrap. Let's wrap it up, yeah.